You know, when you were a kid and you thought adults actually know what's going on, they actually knew things, and then you became an adult and suddenly you realized nobody actually knows what's going on. Most people are pretending to know what's going on. A lot of people are just trying to figure it out. They're just winging it. That's really all it is. They're just trying to survive. Well, that's pretty much old news. A lot of us thought of this already since we grew up. But some of the things you may have not thought about that I'm going to share from my own personal experience is I've heard this quote, I have no idea by who it's by, but it's basically idiots all the way up. And what that means, it more refers to a career or professional setting. When you're thinking of a large corporate ladder, corporate structure, which basically looks like a big pyramid anyway. But you have employees, supervisors, managers, upper management, executives, directors, investors, right? Whatever you want to call all of those titles. And one thing that I've learned going through different levels is the fact that these people did not get there because they're good at what they do or because they're super smart or they're extremely hard workers. It's because most of the time they just lasted the longest or they had the best relationships, networking, and really it's just because they were liked. They were liked by the manager, so the manager promoted them. It was that simple. But what's actually interesting is that I worked for this large telecom company that has a proper corporate structure, and I started out as a sales rep. So my job was to do sales. And when I started in sales, I thought, all right, these guys who are already bringing in sales, like you get to see their numbers and everything, and you're thinking, damn, they are so good. I wish I was that good. I could be making money like that because it's heavily commission based, right? And after a few months, I realized, oh, okay, this is not the people I want to aim for because these people actually don't know what they're doing half the time. They're just trying to scam the customer into buying so they can get a paycheck and then keep them there for enough time to pass so that they don't cancel and you don't get clawback. For those that don't know, clawback is basically when you get paid for a sale and then the customer cancels and then you get your money taken out from the next paycheck. Yeah, that's the worst thing ever. But I thought, all right, I want to grow. There was a growth track. I want to become a supervisor, manager. Let's go, right? And I used to look up to those people in management. I thought these guys is where I want to be. I know a lot of us young guys, we're ambitious. We're aspiring to be in charge. We just want to, be successful. That's really all it is. And so I thought, okay, I spent a lot of time with my manager at the time, and I thought these people are geniuses. Like, they gotta know what's going on. How did they get here? Especially if it was somebody young as well. Fast forward, once enough time passed, I did enough things, I was able to get into that position. So let's say a management role. At that point, I realized after working a little bit with them of what happens behind the curtain, what goes on behind the scenes, how do they make decisions. I am telling you, most of the time, their decisions are pulled out of their ass. Literally, it is not even funny. As an employee, I used to think managers sit there, they look at all the spreadsheets, they consider every possible option, they take the best one. No, they don't. They literally only think, especially if they're not the top level management, they're like mid-level. They're thinking, all right, how do I get paid? How do I do nothing as much as possible? Like, I want to do absolutely nothing, outsource all my work to my employees, and cover my ass and maintain office politics. So a lot of it was office politics, ego. I gotta be the top dog, and other things like that. And the funny thing is, office politics is some of the dumbest shit. It's, what is this person going to think of me if I do this? What is that person going to think? How are those people going to respond? Now, there's nothing wrong with reading the room and wanting the people you work with to like you. That is completely different from trying to move things in such a way so that person thinks that and the other person. It's just a whole manipulation game. And you sit there like a puppet master trying to organize this entire charade. That's what it feels like. And of course, when you're in management, who do you report to? You report to the directors, you report to the upper management, whatever guy is above you. In a corporate structure, there's a million managers up the way, you know. And upon reporting to the guy above me at the time, I thought, okay, holy shit, this is a big deal. Like, I'm gonna get on a call with him. We're gonna go over all the numbers, all the targets for the sales team to do. And I thought I was just shitting myself. I thought this was gonna be so serious. After a few months of that, I started to realize, all right, is this guy all there, or is he actually a little bit stupid? I'm not sure. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he just has some big grand plan that he's not telling me and I'm not part of. Okay. More time passes, and the more I work with this guy, the more I realize, wait a minute, the decisions he's making are actually not the best decision for the business or for the people. The decisions he makes are the best for himself, for his ass, for his own protection, to make sure that he keeps his job, and at the same time, if necessary, screw over everybody else while he's at it. And once I started realizing that, I was asking, you know, some people on who are around my level of management, like, hey, dude, how do you, you know, in a different department, let's say different office, different branch, hey, how do you deal with this? You know, this guy is a pain in the ass. I've asked him for the same thing multiple times, and he gets back to me at the end of the week, well, why didn't you just say so? Like, bro, look at all the emails. You're just ignoring them, you know? Anyway, I would ask them, how do you deal with this? Some guys were in that position for far longer than me, 5-10 years. And I'm like, you guys report to this guy? It's impossible. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's easy. Check this out. All I tell them, every time he tells me I need to, you know, this and this sucks and this needs immediate improvement, I tell him, yeah, we're actually really working on it. We just need to crack down. And we actually almost found the main problem, and I think this is the issue, and we're gonna work on it. Which is basically any other office corporate jargon, or whatever that word is. And I'm like, okay, you told him that once, what about the next time? When it actually doesn't improve? He's like, well, the upper management doesn't realize that this problem will never stop existing. This was a consistent problem unless they change the infrastructure. So this will always be a problem, but they don't get it. So I forever tell him the exact same thing. We're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. Every single week on the call. And I just thought, what game is this? Why don't we just tell them that this problem is impossible to solve unless you change something internally, like the infrastructure, the underlying issues. They're like, no, they're not going to listen. That's true. So the managers just care to get their paychecks and basically keep feeding bullshit to upper management. Then the upper management had a huge ego. They can never be wrong. Nobody ever can suggest something that is actually going to work and has worked in the past because, well, why would you listen to your underling? This guy reports to me. He kisses my toes, so I'm not going to listen to him. I'm just going to tell him what to do. And you just play this back and forth of feeding them bullshit, and they keep on pressuring you on things, and overall, nothing actually gets done. So basically, every step of the way of you working with someone, it just turned into a full-on politics, ego, and you realize that people that are higher and higher are just more and more retarded. There's no other way to put it. It is much less about the work, and it's a lot more about what are people going to think of me, you know, how do I not get fired the next time, you know, the next quarter targets are up and we miss the targets. How do I make sure I'm not fired? How do I make sure I keep my position? How do I make sure this other guy doesn't get hired because he poses a threat to me? This other guy seems that he's pretty good. I don't like him. Let's make sure we can, shoot him in the foot. So that is how a lot of these large companies are ran, where you hear a lot of people say, I don't actually do shit at work. I just kind of sit there and they pay me most of the time. And then when, sometimes you have to work. So once again, the quote remains, idiots all the way up. Once again, I heard it somewhere. Don't know who's the author, but that's all I have to say for today. Thanks for watching.